big idea of Redux. Say you've got components which are connected in inverted commas and what are they connected to? They're connected to this thing which is called the store. So the store's a good place to start. So the store is JavaScript object. So you can see here it's got some keys and it's got some values and it's got like different JavaScript data. You can have strings, you can have arrays, you can have objects, whatever, just like JavaScript stuff goes in there. And there's just one of them per application when you're using Redux. So it's just one big store. Usually it's broken up by something called reducer, but it can really look like however you want. It's just like a big thing. So if you were building a Twitter clone, it would probably have like the feed of that user. It would probably have like, I don't know, like the currently logged in user, like where their picture's stored, what their name is, shit like that. Like standards, like stuff you want to show on the screen, basically. Or stuff you want to show on the screen but in like a slightly more raw format or something. So something like that. So this is the store, and then what Redux lets you do, and Redux is not necessarily only to be used with React, but it was clearly designed with a React-like thing in mind. There are other things that compete with React nowadays, like Vue.js and etc. But let's just say for the sake of this, that it just works with React, but it doesn't. You've got your store, and then you can connect that store using a library called React Redux to components, and then components will get access to that store if they want to in props. So your props just have this stuff in. Now you can say, when you connect, you can say, I only want like, reducer 1. I don't want the whole thing. So you can do that, but if you want, you can get hold of everything which is in the whole store. So your components now are like automatically in sync with this. If the store changes, then the props change, and then if the props change, React, as you probably know, like re-renders everything, because that's just what React does, right? React's like kind of dumb. It's like you give it some fucking props and it renders those props. And that's the end of it. So React Redux just makes sure your store, it syncs them into your props. That's it. So this line at the top is pretty simple. It's just store just lands in props. You have to connect those React components. I'll show you what that is shortly. So then how do you change what's in the store? So you kind of have like an initial state that you can set up with your store. I'll show you how that works using your reducers in a bit. And then like something happens, like someone clicks something, I don't know, something changes. So maybe a user clicks a button. How do you change what's in the store? So to do that, your components, when something gets clicked or when they do something, you fire an action. You do what's called dispatch, which is like a keyword here, dispatch an action. So you fire these actions off, and an action looks like this thing. So it normally always has this thing, a key called type, which is then by convention, the value of it is always like uppercase with underscores, looks big and scary. So like here I've got a type update company, and then you can optionally, you don't always have it, but optionally have a payload. And in this case, I've just used a string Facebook, but it could be like, some massive fuck off like array or something. So like whatever you want really can go in payload. So someone clicks something over here, and an action, which is just a JavaScript object, right? It's just like plain old JavaScript, it's boring, gets fired, and it goes along here to the store, but it goes via the reducers. So you can see here by these 3 arrows that every action that you fire from a component will go through every single reducer. So I'll show you some examples of that in a bit, but basically what the reducers do is they're like their functions which you write in JavaScript, which take in actions, and then they're reducers in charge of like a part of the store. Usually you can set it up in different ways, but like for us, reducers in part of a particular side of the store. So reducer 1 is in charge of this part here, which is data. Oh my god! So the reducer is a function, and as the 2 parameters it will take, which we'll look at in a minute, is it gets the previous reducer 1, which is data. Oh my god! And it gets the action that comes in, and then your job as a reducer is to take that and produce the new state for reducer 1, and then the store will then get updated with that. So let's say reducer 3, right? Reducer 3 has company zdev. So maybe update company comes in, all three of them will receive this action. These two might just do nothing. They might be like, update company, yeah, good for you, but that's not for me. They don't do anything, right? Reducer 3 is like, oh, update company, cool. So then it might return, it will then maybe afterwards, company would be Facebook. You decide what to do with it in here. So you have to return some new sort of like state for the bit of the store that you're in charge of. So that's what reducers do. So by firing actions, which go through reducers, then the store updates. Every time the store updates, then this arrow here, like it comes back, the props will just change. So you have there's like two fucking things you can do. You can connect to things in the store. Right, you got this big ass store, you can connect to things in it, and you can fire actions, which will then update the store, and automatically you're connected, so you get those changes. That's like it. And you can see why they call it uni-directional, because it's like the arrow only goes one way. So it's not like you're going backwards. You always go, in this example, like counterclockwise. So that's the whole thing, pretty much. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna go through how we like to structure each of those things. So the main things are connected components, which are sometimes referred to by the guy that created this as containers. So like a container is just a component where you've connected. Actions, which just look like this. Actions are probably the simplest part of the whole equation. They're just a JavaScript object. So that's easy. And reducers, which are functions which, given some previous state of the store and a new action, tell you what the new state for the part of the store they look after. So the store is subdivided into different reducers, and each of those reducers is in charge of one bit of the store. Stores will receive actions as they happen. All the reducers, will receive every single action that gets fired, but usually in most apps, most reducers ignore a lot of actions because they only care about some of the actions. They don't care about all of them. Sometimes two reducers will care about the same action, but most of the time not really. And that's it. That's the whole thing. So we're gonna break it down and go through it bit by bit with a to-do MVC example.